Hey, folks! Excited to have Jelani here today. Jelani he's a brother. Actually, I met him here in Brazil, and I don't know, we became really great friends, and I had a great time with him here. So we come again to Immigrant Tale, and today we're going to talk about the story of Jelani's story from Canada to Brazil and his time in Brazil,
Mm,
his experience in Brazil. So I'll give Jelani the time to sort of introduce himself and tell us a bit about himself. Then we can now jump in from there. So, Jay, it's all yours.
yeah. My name's Jelani. I was born in Canada, in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. But I've moved around. I'm currently based in Montreal. I'm working as an actor here, theater, film, video games, anything that I can do. I also teach part-time at the university. But yeah, it's cold. That's kind of maybe a good segue into, why um, I first was introduced to Brazil during the pandemic, and that was crazy time. I think in my life, I think just a lot of stuff was going on, and then I think with the way that it was going in Canada, like you weren't even going to be able to go outside.
Hmm.
And I remember just having this kind of moment of just like, fuck it, like I don't know if I can cuss on this. My bad. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay.
Are we allowed to we
You
can
might
cuss? I
feel free.
Okay, good. But yeah, it was just like it was me and a person that I was seeing at the time had convinced me. She gave me a PowerPoint presentation, and what the first things that I heard about Brazil, specifically Salvador, was that it was the blackest place outside of Africa. And I think that I've always wanted to be amongst people that look like me, that think the same, that there's this kind of like common understanding of history and just feel invited. And it was like a no brainer. It was kind of like just hearing about the culture, the music, the other things, the women, the drinking, the dancing, beaches, obviously beautiful beaches. And not just like about like the sexiness of them, because I think Brazil gets a lot of that. Everyone's like, Brazil sexy, but they're also very friendly. I think I've
Super,
met
super friendly.
some of the most friendly places from a place that I like people have told me is very dangerous. Like traditionally, like that's a lot. Oh, be careful. A lot of people said that, and obviously, you gotta be careful. I'm not saying it's like a walk in the park, but like if you're intelligible, you can avoid a lot of things, and with that, you can have a lot of great experiences. So yeah, so that's
That's
a
awesome.
little bit about
I think we
that.
should take a step back, right, and maybe drive a bit down
Okay,
into the. It's dangerous. I think that's one thing people
it's
say about
dangerous.
that is very funny. So,
Mm.
tell me about your experience and danger in Brazil, like so far.
Oh man, it's so different. Like I think because I'm dark skinned black person, and the way that I go about there, I don't feel scared to as much. You know what I mean? Like for like when I'm walking in Havaianas and I have my shorts on and I have no shirt on, like people leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like people either assume that I might be Brazilian or in that sense, and I haven't had. I'm trying to think of like. I think most nervous. I've had two instances. I've
Okay.
had some people like when I was in Rio Vermelho for the first time, like one of the first times, and I didn't know a lot of Portuguese, and I think that can also amp up the fear because you hear a lot of other people talking in different languages, maybe looking at you, and you can start getting inside your own head. But I remember being with a group of friends and then being like, put your cell phone away. Like
Hmm.
someone can come and, they're talking about taking it from you. And those are like the little gringo things, like having your cell phone out in the middle of the street and certain things dressed in certain ways. Like, so that was like the first little bit. I had one person try to put their hand through a window and try to grab my phone.
Oh, really?
Again, like, yeah, like they tried to just like quickly. I was trying to like video out the door, like I might do in Canada or something, and then someone tried to grab it, and then I think the last one was actually when I was with a a white girl from Sao Paulo. We were at Solar de União, and I had my drone out.
Okay.
And I've taken my drone out before. I was with a group of like of a Casa da Ribeira. I took my drone out in Gamboa, perfectly fine, like didn't feel anything. And I remember these two guys were like, look, like I lifted off the drone and then like brought it back, and then they saw me and they kind of like, I felt just that energy of like, someone might just try to like rob me and just take off. You know what I mean? Like I know that energy. I've been around that enough in my life, and I know they were just, it wasn't good energy. And I think that, but that was because I was with, I think, a white girl from another place, that it kind of made me look more like a tourist
Got it.
in that sense.
Got it.
So I think, yeah. And so I've heard other instances like in Pellerino, a couple people, at knife point got their phone stolen, So again, things can happen. Nothing has personally ever happened to me. And I've been there 5 times for like 3 to 4 months. And so I know it's possible. But again, I think that also, you can get robbed here, and where I'm at, and things like that. So a little bit different rules. Is it dangerous? Like the world is dangerous. I think you just have to be more mindful, and really be able to have, to trust the right people, because there are good people. They're going to tell you the rules. You know what I mean? Like when you're at the beach, and you see everyone else leaving the beach, don't
Yeah,
stay at the beach,
exactly.
right? You
Exactly.
leave the beach with all the, you want to watch, you want to stay and watch sunset, make sure you're taking Ubers everywhere. You know what I mean? Depending, before you like know the area and things like that, where you're going and stuff like that at first, especially if you don't know the area. So, walking at nighttime in certain places is not okay. You know what I mean? Definitely, definitely not like it would be in some places in Canada. So there's a little bit different rules that are going to change depending on, where you're going. But if you're smart, if you're just put a little bit of effort in, you can navigate that and pretty much, in my opinion, mitigate all of those fears that people have.
I think I agree with you 100%. I also have not had, I think I told you this, right? I think I had maybe just one incident, and it was not even in Salvador, it was in Rio. I feel a lot more safer in Salvador than Rio. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say the same thing, right? Uh, I'm a black man, potentially 6 feet tall. So it's possible that, you look at me and you probably do not think you want to do something to me, But I've never had an incident where
Mm-hmm.
someone does anything to me. In Rio, it was a situation where I was walking at night around, I think it was 1:45 a.m. at night. It was very early in the morning. So I was walking on the streets of Rio that late in the morning, and you just had people trying to come to me. And it was not, it was more or less they were trying to come to me, and I confronted them, and you just sort of like, um, made sure things did not escalate as quickly as you should. So that's also what happened with that. But um, my thought here is this: I think just like every city across the world, Brazil is literally as safe as it would be. I don't think it's as dangerous as people sort of like assume it is. I don't think it's that dangerous. Honestly, that's my thought about it. But yeah, um, let's take a shift back and look at, how did you experience? Was this sort of like some culture shocks you have observed when you moved here between, Brazil and Canada? Some of the things you sort of like, saw, and you were like, okay, this is different from how things work in Canada.
Oh yeah, it's
Come on.
so different. Man, I don't even know, where do you even begin on that? Well, it's summer all the time there, so it feels like
In
people
Salvador,
are.
right? Yeah.
It's summer all the time. People are just happier mood wise. Um, oh man, I think there's a big. There's so many. I don't even know where to begin. Where do we begin on the differences? I think the people are more welcoming. I think it's easier to make friends for me personally. I think that in Canada and the West, I think that there's like these things of status that can kind of blur lines, and I think that it's harder to meet people here. I think that you have to be able to get into circles or to be invited. Where like going to a club by myself, in Canada. Like I could very much easily not like necessarily make friends or just be on my own. Whereas like I've never felt that for me in Brazil. Like I've
Hmm.
never been like I've gone out multiple times by myself, and it's like people are always just like, hey, what are you doing? Like, hey, come over here, and wanting to introduce and to meet new people and to dance with everyone and to make sure everyone's like kind of feels involved. Whereas like I couldn't just go to a place and just like be like, in Canada, I feel that and just insert myself into a group. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Sit down at a table at Rio Vermelho at someone's random table in Montreal. Be like, hey, how you doing? Like, my name's Lonnie. And start trying to talk. People be like, they look at you funny. So I think there's like this different ways, so people are a little bit more clicky here. The people that you go out with is the people you leave with type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, horns. I was amazed by the way that people use horns in Brazil. It's a very friendly thing. It's not to like, like give you like a fuck you. Like I've seen it. Like I was like in New York, in Canada. Like people use horns aggressively. It's
Yeah.
like road rage is this thing out here. But in Brazil, it's just like it's like a soft little hey, go across the
Hey,
street, or they'll
yeah.
honk to let you give the right of way and things like that. Um, one thing like going, they kiss with tongue. That's a thing. That's like way different. Like people here, you don't necessarily do that. Also, like this was interesting. Like kissing is huge in Brazil. Like kissing is, I think, very touch and physical touch in these things. And here, I remember I went on a date back here, and like I remember kissing, and we kissed for like I counted like two steamboats, like one 1,000, two 1,000. She like pulled back, and I'm like, what's up? I'm like, what's going? I was like, what's going on? And so I like the difference is like, especially we're in a public place, kind of public-ish,
Yeah.
and so like they're more worried and more like kind of like with eyes on you. Whereas like in Brazil, it's like if people are making out of there, you go upon your day. You know what I mean? It's whatever. It's not a big deal if like people are there. They might make out for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They like that kind of energy, just in that sense. They like to indulge, they like to have fun. They love to live in the moment. I think that people in Canada we're thinking about our futures so much. We're thinking about 5 years down the road, 10 years, what's going to happen. We're planning all the days and things like that, the hustle, pay your rent, all these kind of things. Not that they don't have to do these things, but they really, I find, enjoy life in the present. It feels like they take life day by day and let it come to them, and don't try to force anything too much. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
So,
it does. I think my thought here about this is I think they've been able to find a balance between actually being able to plan for the future, but also being able to actually
yeah.
enjoy the moment. Because you
hmm
wouldn't say Brazilians are not super hardworking. They're really, really hardworking people.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, they work hard. They work hard.
super hardworking. But also they've been able to find a balance between, yeah, we're going to plan to get shit done here. But for now, we're leaving. We're going to have some beers. We're going to like, have a great
hmm
party. We're going to be on the beach. We're going to take some sun. Whatever it is, we're going to go to
Yes.
it now and actually enjoy it now. So that's really, really amazing.
Community is very important to them. Community
Yeah, it
and
is.
being with family a lot, and that means, and I feel friends is closer in family than it is in Brazil. Like your friends can be your kind of family. Not that they can't be here in Canada, but it feels like the people you meet are little bits of family. But yeah, go. What were you saying?
That's very
Sorry,
true.
bro.
That's super true. I was going to ask, like, about your experience with food, right? Because me, I had a problem. You obviously observed me and my
I know, but Nigerians are picky, huh? I know. You
no,
guys
man.
get good food.
It's,
You guys
it's
get good
okay.
food. I
It's
get it. I
okay.
get it.
It's okay. But yeah, what's your
Yeah.
experience with food?
The food, look, fresh fruits all day, every day.
That I
Um,
love.
you get fresh fruits
Very
better
true. Yeah,
than I'm getting.
everywhere.
Now, I come from Montreal, like where I'm based. Montreal is one of the best food cities in the world.
Mm.
And then I've also spent time in New York, and so the thing about there is that you've got everything. You've got good Mexican food, good Indian food, good Chinese food everywhere from all over the world. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more, I guess, diversity in the food here, and really good quality food. Now, we don't have moqueca. A good fresh moqueca from like Donna Susanna. Just coming out when it's bubbling
Sweet,
out. You know what
chewy.
I mean? Banana de teja.
Yeah,
That right there, that we don't have that here in Canada. Their cultural dishes, like some of them are amazing, 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 amazing. Um, they love to do a lot of barbecue, churrasco. I'm Trini by descent. I like the hot sauces are good in Salvador. I would say some of the best hot sauces, but the seasoning they don't season their food like the way that I'm used to growing up. You know what I mean? With Grenadian Trinities, we have a lot of Indian influence, so there's a lot of curries, so much spices, so much. So the food is like you bang, it's like a bang. You know what I mean? Whereas
yeah,
Brazil, it can be the moqueca with the dende oil and all that stuff. It's great. It's just not as like seasoned as I'm used to in that sense. The some places are pretty good. It can be hit or miss. I think sometimes I think in some places yeah, like I don't. I have to change it up every now and then. If you're going to Brazil, especially Salvador, thinking that you're going to eat great international food, like you're not like Chinese food and Indian, all these kind of things, like you're not going to have that.
You should
You
try
know what I
some.
mean? Yeah, go to Sao Paulo. Like I think Sao Paulo's got more of that. Like Salvador's not really like on the foodie level like that if you want like different fruits from wherever. But you know, you can get fresh fish. You know what I mean? If you know fresh fish, sorry. But if you know where to go, like I've seen it, you can go get like you know, you go to a town like Iberia, you know, you can buy like with you know, they have a big fishing culture. You can go buy like really great fish, like red snapper and all these kind of things. So I think that there's a lot of options to eat healthy as well. You know what I mean? In that sense. So
Especially the fact, especially the point you made about eating healthy. I think that's one of the things about Brazil that you sort of like get from here, because everything you get in here is super fresh. You're getting the fruit is super fresh and you're amazing. The fish,
hmm
the meats, everything's quite fresh, and you're having like really really good food. I remember my time with the red fish. What's it called again? Peixe vermelho. It's
Peixe vermelho, yeah.
possibly the best
I
seafood.
think that I think that's red snapper. I could be wrong, but I think that's red snapper.
It's
I think
amazing.
we
Yeah,
also use that in Trinidad as well, and it's good. It's great. It's
it's
amazing. You know, you don't
amazing.
have to do.
It's
But the only thing is, like, I wish they just did a little more something to it. You know what I mean? That's
spicy.
it. That's it. It's good. A little spice. You know what I mean? They just give it to you. They fry it like a bacon. It's good. The fish
Yeah.
is fresh. It comes off. It's perfectly cooked. I just wish they had a little extra something. That's all.
Hmm,
You know
hmm.
what I mean? But that's a more thing. It's still good. It's still really, really good. You can get great, you know, shrimp, seafood, lobster, all that kind of stuff. So,
I get it. I get it. So let me ask about, let's take a step back to like your first time in Brazil.
yeah.
First time arriving in Brazil,
hmm
and obviously you had no context about Brazil. It was somebody pitched it to you, and they were like, it's amazing and all. And now you're
Yeah.
in Brazil and you're trying to experience the country. What was it like for you?
hmm
The journey like, in that first couple of, I don't know, weeks or months?
So to preface this, I didn't fall in love in Brazil with Brazil the first time I went there. So to give a little context, I tore my Achilles tendon like 2 weeks before I was gonna leave. So I was in a wheelchair and crutches for about like the first month and a half. And then after that,
In
I had
Brazil.
to like in Brazil, yeah, when I got to Salvador and, you know, I learned out quickly how, you know, if there's one thing, it's not the most wheelchair accessible place. You know, a lot of hills, which was great for like rehab and stuff like that. Um, that being said, remind me of your question again. Your question was about first time coming to Brazil.
Yeah, like what was your
Were there
experience?
any cultural challenges?
Yeah, the
The
first couple of weeks.
language, for language is one that's like the one that sticks out. I
How do
think
you
over, say it again.
how do you navigate the language barrier?
Google Translate was huge.
Got it.
Google Translate. But Brazilians are very patient with you too. You know, they want, I find like if you want to speak English, they'll want to speak English with you and they want to try. You know, I don't think Canadians would give that same patience to someone else coming out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, if they didn't speak English good enough or would try, like not many people are gonna be with you on Google Translate for a whole conversation. You know what I mean? People got places to go in that sense. Whereas when I was there and I had questions and I had certain things, like people are like, you know, really trying to help you out in that sense. But again, for me, it's like a muscle. I would get, especially as I'm trying to learn it, it's like you're trying to learn it, but you only have so much computing power or whatever it is, and you just get tired and fatigued. And trying to learn a language is a muscle. I do believe that. And so if you're, you know, there's some people that go different approaches. Some people don't try to learn the language at all. You know, some people learn a little bit. Was it frustrating to navigate at first? Yeah. But Brazilians make it fairly easy to interact and communicate and to still feel comfortable without making it like awkward. But that was, I know towards the end of it, the second you're just like when you're with a whole group of Brazilians and they're all speaking Portuguese and you have nothing, you feel like you can't contribute. That was for the first little bit like so frustrating. I can't lie, it was like very very frustrating for me personally.
It is still very frustrating for me. I think I get a bit. I still understand a bit of what has been said to an extent, right? I think my Portuguese has
hmm
improved really greatly since I moved to Salvador. But
hmm
still, like you said, it's quite frustrating also when you're like around a group of, of Brazilians that are like speaking Portuguese and you have no idea what they're saying. A lot of the time, I just tend
hmm
to look away and I'm just like focus on something else, like because I know I don't know what you're saying. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Like, look for something else.
And you
Yours.
have to really listen. Like you have to be like every single word syllable because they're talking in their
Yeah,
they're in their slang in their in their way, and if you don't know, if you might they might say something that's just it might be a throwaway word, but you're like, wait, what was that word? It sounds like important. You know what I mean? It's like no, it's just like a word that like a throwaway word that doesn't even really add anything to the story. It's just like oh they or something like that, or, and things like that. So oh shit, you know what I mean? It just
exactly.
means it's just these words. You're like, wait, what does that mean? So you have to be very curious. I think, especially if you're trying to learn another language, going there like the curiosity is important to be there, or if it will just get overwhelming, which is okay. I think it's okay. It's not supposed to be easy, but I think it's also, learning the language. You also get to like learn more about them and the culture, the little things that they use as like either swear words or to talk to affectionate words or how they say hi. I think are important things, to go. I don't agree with going to a place, even for however short, and not trying to learn the language. Like not even trying. You know what I mean? I think that is for me disrespectful. I
I
don't know
agree.
why, but there's something about just like not even, if I went anywhere, I would try to pick up a little bit so I can communicate. But that's just me.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. But also agree about the fact that Brazilians would always make it very easy for you. They're very, patient with you, trying to assist you in whatever way they can. They also try to engage with you even using Google Translate. For example, right? I was in Brazil first couple of weeks, I had literally no idea what I was doing. I went to a party and I saw this really beautiful girl. I was like trying to connect with her. I had no idea what to say. And what would I do? I just sort of like, I had learned how to say hello, hola, just so I went to her and I said hola, and she said hola back. And I think I'd learned about saying, now fala Portuguese. I was like, now fala Portuguese. She smiled back, and I just pulled out my phone and started typing. She was laughing while I was typing, but it was this cute laughter, like this is cute. But I just kept typing. When I was typing, picked up the phone from me, and she also responded, and we just sort of like engaged throughout the whole time with that. And I was like, okay, this is good because it was not very stressful. I'm sure a lot of people will not even have the patience to give me to like allow me to do the whole back and forth from the Google Translate doesn't make any sense at all. But it was really cool. I think Brazilians will make it very very easy for you to to navigate that. So I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
about your time trying to meet up with a couple of girls here very early on,
Mm-hmm.
like without your language and everything.
Mm. Uh, yeah. So the first year, um, like the first time I went, I wasn't really in that mind space of like going out to meet people and to meet a bunch of people.
Yeah,
So I think that first year was more about like me, you know what I mean, going to the beach. Now, I will say now when okay, how do I explain this? So I think that I was on Reddit searching up things. Reddit's got everything, and search up, what do Brazilian people like to hear? How do Brazilian people talk? All this kind. You find anything on freaking Reddit. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. Like some
that's
of the
true.
stuff I was a little like, yo, this is wild. This is wild. But I read this thread saying that you don't learn. The best way to learn a language is to fall in love in it, and I experienced that. Um, was it that would have been my second year towards the end where I got into a relationship with the Brazilian girl, Afro Brazilian, um and we're going on dates and all this kind of stuff, and I think at this point like my Portuguese I'm like 10%, I'm like 10-15%, I'm getting like every third fourth word, but she's patient, you know what I mean? And so I found that time like it's good until it's not good.
Hmm.
It's good until there's an argument. It's good until there's some frustration. It's good until you're trying to get deeper. And I was having this other conversation that it can be tough to that communication. You know what I mean? That I value, especially in a normal day relationship, is going to be so much more effort because you're not just going to be understood on a level that just because you guys speak the same mother tongue, there's just certain things that you're going to be able to understand level of tone, certain word choices, sarcasm, jokes, and all that kind of stuff. Which can be, which is a part of, I think meeting someone. A lot of people like to feel comfortable. They want to be able to laugh around you in that kind of sense. And so when I think that for the first little bit trying to meet people was a little, it felt Empty's not the right word, but it felt like I wasn't getting as heard as I wanted to. I wasn't able to be able to express the full version of who I am because I'm trying to find those words in that kind of sense. And you're kind of taking these building blocks, these pieces from all the people that you're meeting as you ask them questions. Like, oh, I like that word. That's what I do. I find people that I like, ask them questions. Oh, what was that word? What does that mean? Oh, that's a cool. How do you use it in that situation? But yeah, that was a little sidebar. But yeah, getting back to, I lived with, I think, her for about 2 to 3 weeks. And that was when I think my Portuguese, like, got so much better. Like,
Mm.
so much better. We're waking up, eating breakfast together, so I would do my lessons in the morning. I have like this, audio and repeat lessons, and then I do some little written stuff. And then I would be able to use that stuff in breakfast and talk to her, just have a conversation and just be slow. And what are the things at breakfast? How do you say this? What do you, ask about your day and that kind of stuff. And then, and also getting in arguments. And I remember the first time getting an argument, I'm like, wait, what'd you say? And I'm trying to Google Translate. You were like, wait, say it again. And what was that word? And you're saying,
Okay.
it's like was a new experience for me. And that did something inside to me. I was like, yo, like, I walked away heated. You know what I mean? And it was more just because of a miscommunication, misunderstanding, not because Google Translate isn't going to translate everything perfectly, especially when it's big, long ideas, in that sense. So that was a new thing, and having to, like, figure out the words and really take time apart to figure out what that person might have been trying to say, and I think that can be a thing of resistance of, like, because I think there's a difference of people going to Brazil to find someone just to, like, have sex with, you know what I mean, versus going to Brazil to actually to build relationships with people. And I'm in the business of building relationships with people. I don't want to just go to a place and just because they've got hot women and things like that, and just, it's more than that for me. I want to have relationships. I want to have friendships more than anything. And so, and communication is part of that. And so if you don't want to communicate, at a certain point, it's going to fizzle out, or you're going to always have this feeling of, I believe, for me, Jelani, of how I need in a relationship, or just being misunderstood, which I don't like to be misunderstood. I don't know about you, but, like, especially when I'm trying to explain something to you, I need you to hear that. And I think that extra effort of going to explain to someone that you have an intimate relationship with, or that you're good friends with, that it activates this extra gear in you. And I think it helps you learn more, especially when you're learning. I don't want to say learning with love, but learning with the intention of intimacy, learning with the intention of empathy. I believe that it helped for me. Was like, I went from within the first year, so the first year I went there for 3 months, I left and came back. I felt like I got worse at Portuguese.
Mm.
Then I was there for 2 months, and I was like, I was ready to leave. Honestly, I was like, I don't understand anything. I'm not learning the language. And then 2 weeks with her, it was like, I felt like I could, like, put into conversation. I wasn't at that level of making people laugh yet, which is like that extra level of being able to tell jokes, which is like, I think it's like another. There's like levels, when you can make people laugh, you're like, okay, like, I'm starting to get the language a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I can start finding my own personality of, like, sending, just like saying jokes and things like that. So, wow, that's I don't know if I answered your question or
No,
not.
no, I think you did. I think you did. No, I think you did in a very, very, really, really great way, actually. Because there's so many a lot of very, very deep points also around. The first thing also I think I should highlight is the fact that, like you said, yeah, the people that sort of like come here with the ideology that they're coming here to like meet up some girls and stuff like that, maybe for snacks. But I think also there's a lot of depth that you would find when you sort of like go in for a relationship. Although there's a case to make for how complicated it could be for someone coming from a different culture, where how you make or start relationships are quite different from how it happens in Brazil, because it took me a while to start understanding how the difference how it is. And even up till now I still struggle with how to make that work also, 'cause, in Brazil, most times, people can sort of be scared of commitment in their own way, and that could be like a bit of a problem when you sort of like come from a point where you're trying to like fully commit to something very quickly. I think the problem is really early, because Brazilians will need you to take some time to get to understand them. So that's sort of like the thing there. But I agree also. I can imagine, I can imagine your situation trying to actually have a fight with your girlfriend, and you have no idea what she's saying. She's talking to you with a lot of anger, and she's speaking Portuguese, and you're trying to respond, but like literally, you can't even put your thoughts together to make words to explain or express yourself. It can be, I told you about my experience cutting my hair, right? Where the guy had really messed up on my hair, and I was looking at myself in the mirror. I was like so pissed, but I couldn't even say anything to him. I was looking at him. I was like, how do I express how angry I am to this dude? And the funny thing is, you can't type your like, anger. It doesn't make sense typing it. You understand? Like, you need to like talk to him like that. But yeah, that's
And that's one thing about Brazil is like they don't get angry like that. Like I've never seen like a couple times, but it's not like they don't have even when they're yelling, it's still this play. You could be angry and they're probably mas calma, de boa, tranquilo, man. You know what I mean? It's like Salvador is like a little bit. It's like a black surf area. You know what I mean? They got this like laid back attitude. So even if you did get mad, it's like it's calm. You know what I mean? It's all good. Like you know what I mean? They have this vibe, and you're just kind of like, it's yeah. It honestly I can't remember like if I seen a Brazilian mad. Like maybe I don't know. Like really really mad. Like ready to like swing on someone. You know what I mean? Like I came from like in Canada. This is one thing I'll say. Going to the clubs, like going to the club in Canada, like I grew up in Saskatchewan playing football there, and drinking plus football players plus a bar just would equal almost like some sort of fist fight every other weekend. You know what I mean? Like, especially you're walking there, a lot of testosterone, farm boys, people that play hockey, all this kind of stuff. You know, they don't know they've never seen so many black people. Like, I went to Saskatchewan, it was like four of my black friends. And like, we got in fist fights like all the time. In Brazil, I never feel that energy. I'd never feel like, you know, I've never felt that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to almost fight. Like, I'm ready. This guy bumps me. Like, I don't know if you've had this, but in Canada, people like to bump you. You know what I
oh
mean?
really?
Like, you walking through, boom, bump. You know what I mean? Like, they just like to flex on you for no reason. You know what I mean? Stupid. Like, so many dumb, like, whereas in Brazil, it's like people are so polite. It's cool. Or they're really good with their bodies. Like, they don't just bump you to bump you. I
No.
mean, maybe Canadians are just clumsy, but I don't feel as like, even in crowded spaces, you feel like everyone's still like gently trying to respect your space, not trying to like bulldoze through crowds and things like that, which I really do appreciate. And that whereas in Canada, it's like, bro, like these people are just so mindless sometimes. And that's one thing like that I don't like. I'd rather go out at a big festival in Brazil than in Canada because of that vibe. I feel as though there's like, I don't know. The energy is a little bit different. I feel safer in Brazil going out to a festival than I do in Canada. Honestly, I really do. Which is a weird. It's weird to say, but honestly, I feel way safer. Like way safer.
That's interesting. Talking about festivals, right? Have you ever been in like a
Mm,
black festival here? What's your experience?
mm, mm. I went to Festival de Verão.
Actually went to, I was
That
there yesterday actually.
I went there now. Crazy,
Really
crazy. I
good.
went to
Really, really
you
good.
see, I went to see Bayern System, which is I think they're based in Bahia. I don't know how to describe it. It's like this Afro rock and roll type things. You know what I mean? Like this with this beats. The beats are crazy. They do Abrahada. Amazing, amazing. I've been to some of the best festivals that I've ever been to and I've ever attended. Just with the energy wise, everyone's got each other's like, I love when they have this moment where they open up the hole, in the middle and everyone's
Yeah,
like,
and
there's a
you just
couple
kind of like
songs.
dance back and forth.
Abraham, and then everyone's open up the circle and you're waiting. People are like doing capoeira through it, moving, and it's just charged energy. It feels like a stampede,
It
almost.
is
It feels like the
amazing.
energy
Yeah.
of like all of it, and you're just all connected. You know what I mean? And all these people just start running at each other, right? Going through, but it's not like you do have the feeling that like maybe you could die today, and that's like I think that's the feeling of like going into war. Like today I could, but it's not gonna be. But no one's got malicious intent. Like people are going to try to hold you up. People are going to try to protect you and protect themselves. Where I've used to work security at this rock and roll fest, this punk rock fest in Quebec. Crazy. I would never. And it's like the same thing, but it's like these people are just aggressive. They're trying to like, like just use strength and just be crazy. You know what I mean? Where that you just, you feel like you're all part of one thing, you know? And yeah, yeah, beautiful. I remember I went to that one. I also went to Bachiku when I was first there during the pandemic where they had it in, at the spot in Libeldaji, I think, in Bloco, where Bloco Iliae played. That was life changing for me. Cause for me, where I come from, if you had all those amount of black people in one space, bro, violence was taking part for whatever reason. Wherever I'm from in Edmonton, like it was just like at Edmonton, where I'm is a fairly violent city. Like especially going out young, like a lot of fights, bottling, even a couple guns, even things like that I've seen. And so I was honestly leaving, having that experience and like in my young 20s made me very wary to even, I was kind of scared of my own people. You know what I mean? To a certain point where like we're all there and I'm like, bro, like we're all like, all the, I don't know if you've been there, but like we're all with your group against a wall. You see that group against a wall and there's like five girls there. And we're all like, you know what I mean? It's like Slim Pickens type thing or whatever. And you just feel that it could just escalate to violence. Where when I came here and I went to that Batch Crew Festival, all black people, all of all colors, size, shapes. It was like 90% black, in black people, like 4 or 5 thousand people. Like I didn't feel 1 ounce of threat level, 1 ounce of threat, 1 ounce of anything. It was just vibes. It was just everyone is here to have a good time, to dance, to hug, to sing, to all that kind of stuff. Like just that, and that encapsulates Brazil for me. Like I feel at home in places where traditionally I have not, where I'm like, I'm always on edge. I have this spidey sense whenever I go to certain places. I'm like, yo, always. And I was like that when I was there, and it would slowly kind of like let itself dissipate. It's like, bro, like, it's okay. Like, you're not going to get bottled. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've been bottled in Canada. I've never been bottled in Brazil, Yeah. So,
That's amazing. Reminding me of my trip, our trip to Boy Peba. I felt like
mm,
I felt like I was going to leave there. Like I definitely am planning to
mm,
leave there. Actually,
mm.
that's like the most tranquil, beautiful place I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, yeah, Boy Pepper's special, man. Boy Pepper, and that's the one thing about Brazil is the islands too, right? Like you have Salvador, the city, which is like this, with especially now you're there, you see it, it's packed with all sorts of international people. But it's nice that if you want to get away from that a little bit, you can just take a boat ride, hour, 2 hours away, and just have a beach to yourself. Be either in a remote spot where you can walk all day. That is the one thing about Salvador is like walking at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. In the night, probably, in certain areas. When in Baja, I would do it in Baja. I would do it in Rio Vermelho, certain places, Pellerino, you know what I mean? But in Mojo Sao Paulo and Boipeba, you can walk all 6
Oh,
a.m.,
that's true.
all hours, all hours.
True. True.
People don't mess with you there,
Yeah,
so.
man. So I'm curious, right? Looking at the next 5, 10 years, any plans of living in Brazil permanently?
Whew. Oh, man, you already know, like, yeah. Like as soon as I'm in a place to do it, which I'm working towards, is it's buying a place, buying a place in South. I already know. Like as soon I've been there 3, 4 times, 4 or 5 times. There's no place in the world. Again, I haven't been to Africa, and I think that I would probably have a similar experience, maybe going to a place like Ghana or Nigeria or Senegal and things like that. But like there's no place that I've ever felt that's ever embraced me the way that it is. And I think as especially as people as dark as us, like traveling is different. I don't think people talk about traveling is different when you were dark as shit. And, like there's just certain things that you're just have to be aware. I don't know, just like either whether it's the micro aggressions from racist white people or
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's great. I went back to New York. Like I grew up in New York. My grandma's lived in Brooklyn for like 30 years, bro. And like I can sense that people look at me like I'm homeless. You know what I mean? Like just cause so like if I my beard's not all cleaned up and I'm not wearing like the craziest flashiest clothes because I don't have to in Brazil. You know what I mean? Like people are like, they're like, who are you? You know what I mean? Whereas like Brazilians just go off vibes, and we vibe. Like I'm feel Brazilian. Brazil's birthdays, I think, is in March. It's in Aries. I'm in Aries. Like,
Yeah,
we're connected. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So I feel so when we talk about plans to move, yeah, like as soon as I can, I want to buy like an apartment in Baja, overlooking the ocean. Um, for sure, probably even bring my family, try and maybe get one or two homes there, like one for the family, Airbnb the other. But Brazil, Salvador is a place that I would love to live, love, and will plan to, just because. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you see outside. I showed you earlier. You
yeah,
see in the winter.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There's the depression that sets in here that I don't think people really understand. I have this conversation with Brazilians sometimes. They're like, "Oh, we come from Canada," and a lot of people idea of Canada is this great place. You know what I
nice
mean? This
place, exactly.
beautiful, safe. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Opportunity and yeah, all this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to say like Canada has more opportunities for artists and funding and that kind of stuff. I don't want to make anything, but it is hard here in the winter. I haven't done winter in 4 years, and this is my first winter back, bro. And it's just like, oh, it's you feel it. You just feel it. You know what I mean? Like I realized I get depressed every winter. It doesn't matter, and you can't avoid it unless you got to get like a special sunlight or whatever. But just being in Brazil, you're just like this, just the sun alone,
every other
the
day.
vitamin D that you get,
You
you're
have it
you're good. You just
every
go out, I'm just like,
single
wait,
day.
e-
Yeah,
every day.
yeah.
I get a little piece of sun here. I remember I was on my way to rehearsal, and like you might not see the sun in some parts of Canada. You might not see the sun for 2 weeks. Okay, if the sun comes out a little patch in the morning, I'll just stand there. I'll just stand in a little patch, like, oh, maybe I'll get this for like 5, 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like you're like feeding. Like I'm like a drug addict for vitamin D. It's
Honestly.
ridiculous. Oh, I'm like out here, like, let me get my fix, man. Let me get my fix. Yo, it's crazy. So, yeah, no, definitely got plans. What about you? You gonna move there or what? You gonna move to
Yeah,
Brazil?
man, I'm really thinking about it. I'm really, really thinking about it. It's
Okay,
something that's been in my
Where
mind.
Salvador, Rio, or Sao Paulo?
So that's a very, very important question that I have no answers for yet. Honestly, I have no answer. Literally no answer.
No.
I love Salvador a lot because I feel like home here. It's very close to Nigeria. It's like very, very close to Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday I was at the Festival de Verão. I had my friend, he's American, right? He was here. He just left actually today, and we're there together. And he's American, but he grew up in Nigeria. So he saw them Ilya play, and he couldn't stop talking about how this is just like the Yoruba women back home, and some of the things that they say also like he could hear the Yoruba and some of the things that they were saying while they were playing their music, and it was like, wow, this is literally home. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think I've said this to you before, right? About how Salvador can be really slow. I think it's a place for vacation. I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
business. It's a literally a place for vacation. Just come and chill. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I've had situations where and if you decide you want to work from here, maybe you're working from home, it's just the perfect place for you to work from home. But you also need to be prepared about things like, yeah, you need to work around Salvador's time. You don't have your time. You understand? Bahia has its time, and they do things by their own time. You
Yeah.
don't dictate the time for you. Because I once I had a meeting. I left. I was working, and I left the meeting by 12, and I had a meeting an hour 30 minutes later. And I went to a restaurant. I was like, please, can I get A, B, C, and D? And they were like, yeah, sure. So they got me the meal. No, they didn't get me the meal. I was waiting. It took them 2 hours to get the meal. I had 1 hour 30 minutes to get the meal and get back to work. So I had to wait an extra 30 minutes. I had to cancel my meeting and reschedule a lot of things. And I was like, nah, man, this is depressing somehow. But that is the thing about Bahia. You just have to adjust to the time. It is
You do.
You
You
have to
do.
respect the fact that Bahia has its time, and whatever time you come with, or whatever it is you're doing, I'm sorry, you have to adjust to it and
You
adapt.
do.
Yeah. So at some point, I had to just adapt to it. What I do now is I just order from iFood and I get it in. Sao Paulo, I told you I spent a lot of time in Sao Paulo, and I was able to also find myself the black community in Sao Paulo, which I really love.
Yes.
Amazing black community in Sao Paulo. I really love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like the problem in Sao Paulo is I don't have the access to the beach, which is like 2 minutes from
Mm-hmm.
here, and I also don't have access. I don't feel super comfortable in Sao Paulo because I'm a black guy. Also, it's still a problem also in Sao Paulo. But Salvador, I get that, but I can't stay in Rio. I'm sorry. I love
You
Rio.
can't stay in Rio.
I love it
I'm
so
about
much.
to do. I'm about to do. I'm about to do. You love it too much.
Yeah, it is so beautiful to stay there. Like I'm being honest. Like every
I
time
know
I
it's
every
too
time I go,
beautiful. I can't go.
yeah,
It's too
like every
beautiful. I
time I
can't
go,
do it.
every time I
No.
go to Rio, bro, every time I go to Rio, I have this overwhelming sensation of excitement every time I'm in Rio.
Okay.
And I have a
Okay.
feeling that if I stay in Rio for so long, I would lose that. I don't want to lose it.
Okay.
You get it right?
I
Yeah, I
got
feel
you.
like
Yeah.
come
I
feel
got
that
you.
and leave it. If I come and stay, I'll just I would not have that anymore. I want to be able to just visit Rio and go. That's what I do.
Mm,
You get it?
I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
One thing. One thing that you made me think of is like you have to adjust to Bahia's time. Is in Canada, and maybe this has to do with the weather. Is people walk so fast here. I'm not sure what's like in Nigeria, but New Yorkers, they walk really fast. You know what I mean? Not long New York City blocks. And there's this pace. There's this pace that, it's on their face. Like I did Christmas trees. I see people wake up and New Yorkers are on a mission when they wake
Mm.
up. Canadians to a certain point are on a mission going to the metro. It's like, whereas like I remember being ready to go to places, and be like, hey, let's go, let's call. I'm calling my friends. I'm trying to organize. Hey, be at my house 9. They're here 10:30. You know what I mean? You're just, and then you're walking to somewhere and you're in a rush. You're like, calma, like
How
you know what I
much?
mean? You're like, you're calma.
How
You know what I mean? Like you're just like, but and so there's this thing it's like we're losing time. You know what I mean? It's like we're always feel like we're losing time in Canada, but you can't do that in Brazil. One, you'll sweat like crazy. Like honestly, like it just I realize why they walk. There's a certain walk that you get that's like loose. It's like it's so you don't sweat. You know what I
What
mean? I remember the first little bit when I was there, I'd be and I naturally just sweat naturally anyway.
same thing
But
here?
like I was sweating a lot. And I realized because I'm always trying to go somewhere, like my body, my breathing, I'm like jittery, I'm anxious. I'm just like, bro, like just chill out, just adjust, like just be on Bahia's time, bro. What you mean? You know what I mean? And like it changed like that right there, just that mindset. I think that goes deeper of just the relaxation that you can get from the peace of mind of just remembering to breathe and just
Yeah.
to you're not in a rush to get anywhere. It's okay. The beach was there today, it will be there tomorrow and the day after and the day after. You know what I mean? It's like just be grateful, for in the moment. But yeah, so that is just that adjustment is like don't come here as a Canadian or American or from wherever big city you are and be like go 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 and try to make things go. It's not let things come to you. You know what I mean? And relax. And I guarantee you will attract a better energy and you'll look less like a tourist as well.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. 100%. It reminded me of my experience. This was in Sao Paulo, not even Salvador. I think he had like invested some money in and sort of like had some things going right. And the party was supposed to start off according to the flyer. According to the flyers that they had shared, it was supposed to start off by 11 p.m. Right?
Hmm.
Or 11 or 10:30. I can't remember exactly. So a Nigerian guy, right? I know we have Nigerian time, we have African time, we have though, but I sort of like businessman. I feel like you just need to be there very early and stuff. So I was there on time. So 11 p.m. I was there at the spot. When I got there, the gate was shut. Like there was like nothing happening there. So I asked the guy, like, I thought there was a party. The dude was like, Mano, você precisa 2 horas. Vai voltar 2 horas. I was like 2 hours late. I have to come back 2 hours later. I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, yeah. Like, I need to calm. Why am I coming? I need to relax. What
So you
the
told me it wasn't even open and empty, it was just
It was
closed.
closed. It wasn't empty. It was closed. Dude,
Yeah, that's
I had to go back home, then come back 2 hours later. Dude,
that's wild.
yeah, that's the thing about
That's
Brazil,
wild,
right?
man.
It's just chill. Like, people. I think to sum it up, I think people actually live in Brazil, literally live. Even the older folks actually do live here. Like, they get to experience life very deeply and appreciate life very deeply. I think that's something that a lot of people
Hmm.
miss across, other part of the world. You're probably are working so hard to make some money or earn a living, and you don't understand or appreciate what living is. Listening to
Hmm.
crazy people, dancing, um, spending some time. Okay, so something happened recently with me. I so a friend of mine invited me out to have lunch with another friend. So I got there with her, and we're supposed to have the lunch. I was so hungry, And I was like, I need to eat now. Whenever your friend comes, she can, order her own meal and she can eat. She's like, no, we don't do that in Brazil. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, even if you're dying of hunger, you have to wait for the person to come and we all order the meal together and eat together. You eat your meal while the other person comes in and eat after. I was like, wow,
Mhm.
okay, now
Mhm.
that's community, right? Because at least you're enjoying the meal as a group together and actually enjoying the food over time. I know I argued with her about this. I was very obstinate about it, but still, I understand the logic behind it. You understand? I do understand the logic. So yeah, I love it here. I love it here, man. So Jay, I
Yeah.
don't know if you have any other thoughts you want to like share about this, your experiences,
Who else?
any other things.
Jeez, jeez, man. Uh, just I think going back to like if I could do it perfectly, like to like talking about living, it would be to like live in like maybe have a place in Sao Paulo and go back and two play have one in Sao Paulo and one in Salvador. Like if that would be the best balance I think to go and to be able to like have take the flights back and forth to go like 6 months Salvador, 6 months Sao Paulo for because I think a lot of people do. I think you
Yeah,
find a lot of artists from what I've seen is like a lot of the artists or business people go to Sao Paulo, and then they come back to Salvador for vacation.
yeah,
Salvador feels like a vacation place. One thing that excites me about Salvador is, and I've heard my friends talk about this. My friend Ozzy, he called it it's the gateway to Africa.
mm,
Like where it is, and got this and it's got this strong presence that I think that, especially Salvador, the history of it is that it was the first capital of Brazil. It's where they brought the most slaves anywhere out of anywhere. The most slaves were brought to Brazil, and they were brought to that port right in Salvador. It's a port city. It's just that I lost my train of thought.
I think what you said,
Um,
what your friend actually told you.
oh yes, is that the opportunity for diaspora from the black diaspora, like wherever they're from, to come and connect with that place. Because one thing that I love about Salvador, not too many people know about it, especially I don't want the black Americans to get mad at me, but I don't like going to places with tons of Americans. I don't not like Americans, but places like Mexico where it's 90% Americans, I don't like love going. But what I do love seeing is I love seeing a mix of like different black people from different parts of the world, like black Germans, black Trinidadians, black Jamaicans, black, people from Nigeria, Mali, Senegal, black Canadian. You have this kind of mecca melting pot of all these African places where a lot of places, if you go to Mexico, you'll just see a lot of black Americans. Or if you go to certain places, you'll just see tons of black Americans where you get like a range. Like I remember I hosted this party, I think like it was like we had a Jamaican, we had two people from America. There was like a German black person, a Trinidadian. Like it was from all over. You know what I mean? Sitting down talking about our experiences and things like that that I've never gotten anywhere else in the world.
Mm,
And I
mm,
think that's one of the special parts about Salvador. Thinking about what your French and cheese like, it's like yeah, you look at them, you're like, this is Yoruba. This is Yoruba. You know what I
yeah,
mean? This is the dress, the garbs, the dancing. You're like, you see the connections, and I don't know. I think that if you don't get a chance to go to Africa, you know what I mean. I think if people that are going to see this, who they see is just like just to feel that presence. If there are any Canadians, Black Canadians that watch this video, like like if you're not going to go to Africa, go to Brazil and go to Salvador specifically because it's going to be a spiritual, I think, journey for you on just your identity, on who you are, where you'll feel like you'll belong. In that sense, I think your outlook will change on that. And there's so many blessings, so many blessings that I think that are there for people to experience there. So yeah.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. These are like really great, like a great way to end this, right? First and foremost, I need to thank you, bro. I think giving your time to us and having to engage with me on this, I think this is really, really important. I really appreciate it. I hope this will be an opportunity for folks that like you said, either the folks in both in Canada or that diasporans that are sort of like looking for this going back home. This will be an opportunity for them to like come to Brazil and also learn enough to be able to understand what to do when you get here. And if you need any other thing, feel free to make comments or ask a question in the comments, and I'll respond to those questions and help you in whatever way I can actually. So again, thanks folks for joining us on Immigrant Tale. Thanks Jelani for your time also, and feel free to subscribe and make a comment or ask whatever questions you have. I'll be here for you. Muito obrigado, my people. Ciao, ciao.